8. P-40 Kitty Hawk. A World War II-era P-40 Kitty Hawk aircraft was recovered from the Black Sea at the Kerch Bridge construction site in May of 2017. Work was being done in order to connect the Taman coast to the Crimean Peninsula as well as the Russian mainland. The project is now complete, and it's known as the Crimean Bridge. According to reports from the Crimea Bridge Information Center, the aircraft was discovered on the seafloor along with the perimeter of the massive construction project, located roughly 4 miles from the Taman coast. Resting 9 meters below the surface was a fuselage with a tail and wings. It was eventually raised out of the water by a crane, and it weighed over 3.5 tons. 6 Colt Browning machine guns equipped with ammo were also pulled from the wreck site. Part of the Kitty Hawk's dashboard and pilot seat were still intact, as well as the craft's engine. Visible markings were also discovered on the engine, which allowed investigators to identify the aircraft and will eventually help them determine the circumstances surrounding its crash. Lifting the plane out of the water was no easy task. It took an entire week to prepare for it. The structure had to be dug out of the surrounding mud in order to discard as much sand and debris as possible. And even with all the planning involved, the tail section of the Kitty Hawk broke while a team attempted to lift the wreckage. While it's not entirely clear what happened to the plane during its discovery, it's implied that it'll likely be transported to a museum after the necessary restoration work is complete. 7. Greenland Shark. In the summer of 2022, researchers working to tag tiger sharks off the southern coast of Belize reeled in something rather unexpected. The team of scientists from the Florida International University couldn't believe it when they identified the fish to be a Greenland shark. This species is typically only found in the Arctic and is known to live well over 500 years. When they caught their first glimpses of the shark after hauling it to the surface, they thought it might be dead. They'd expected to see the typical markings of a tiger shark, but instead they'd caught a shark with pale blue eyes and black, worn-looking skin. PhD candidate Devanshi Kasana from the university's Predator Ecology and Conservation Lab told NPR reporters that the shark looked extremely old. The unexpected catch both surprised and confused the scientists, and they reported seeing a black figure that continued to get bigger and bigger when the shark first entered their field of vision. When it finally breached the surface, nobody from the crew, even with everyone's combined fishing experience, had seen anything like it before in their lives. Kasana told NPR that finding a Greenland shark in the coastal waters of Belize suggests that the species can be found in the tropics as well as the Arctic. 6. Yellow Brick Road to Atlantis. In early 2022, oceanographers on board the EV Nautilus, an underwater exploration vessel, discovered what appeared to be a well-preserved road made of brick on the bottom of the sea off the coast of Hawaii. The alleged road was found near a submarine range of volcanic mountains known as Papahanaumokuakea Marine National Monument. On April 29, 2022, researchers were shocked to find such a structure at a depth of 3,376 feet, located next to the summit of Nootka Seamount. The brick road was discovered by the team as part of their Luai Hikaiki Kumu expedition, and it was even captured on video for the first time during the group's live stream on YouTube. One of the scientists jokingly identified it as the Road to Atlantis, but some people truly believe this could be evidence of the legendary lost city. Apparently, only 3% of the underwater mountain range, which stretches 583,000 square miles, has been recorded, suggesting there may be some secrets waiting to be uncovered. And so, it's easy to understand why some might think this could be proof of the existence of Atlantis. But researchers on the Nautilus believe that the Yellow Brick Road is nothing more than an example of ancient active volcanic geology. What was initially thought to be brick was later identified to be hyaloclastite, a type of volcanic rock that's formed during high-energy eruptions, where rock fragments typically settle to the seabed. The team explained that while the 90-degree fractures in the underwater feature make it seem like stone laid for a road, it was most likely just a result of cooling and heating stress from multiple eruptions. So, unfortunately, the hunt for Atlantis continues. If you discovered a mysterious yellow brick road in the middle of nowhere, would you follow it in hopes that it would lead you to somewhere magical? Or would you ignore it because you don't believe in fairy tales? Let us know in the comments below. And while you're at it, hit that subscribe button. 5. Underwater city of Xicheng. In 1959, the Chinese city of Xicheng was flooded and forgotten about. However, it was rediscovered by divers in 2001 after the Chinese government organized an expedition to explore the 600-year-old metropolis that some have dubbed the Atlantis of the East. Xicheng translates to Lion City in Mandarin. Surprisingly, it was actually flooded on purpose in order to make room for the Xinan Dam and its hydroelectric station. When this took place, almost 300,000 people were relocated, including families that inhabited the city for centuries. Interest in the sunken metropolis increased in 2011 when the Chinese National Geography published several never-before-seen illustrations and images, hypothesizing what the city of Xicheng might have looked like in its prime. Measuring less than a square kilometer, the city was relatively small, but it once had 5 different entrance gates instead of the traditional 4. Xicheng's wide streets were accompanied by 265 archways, which featured preserved stonework of dragons, lions, phoenixes, and other historical inscriptions. The city's walls are thought to date back to the 16th century, with some inscriptions dated to 1777. And despite being lost underwater for decades, Xicheng has remained amazingly well preserved. The water actually proved to protect the city from sun erosion, rain, and wind damage. Today, experienced divers are able to get a closer look at the ruins with dive operators like Ziao Diving Club and Big Blue, which both run regular dives every year between April and November. 4. Pufferfish artist. Male Japanese pufferfish put all other romantics to shame, as it was discovered in 2013 that the fish works 24 hours a day to sculpt a complete ephemeral design on the sandy floor of the ocean in order to attract potential mates. This genus of pufferfish works tirelessly when it's time for them to find a female, and they do so by showing off their artistic side. The fish will spend days on end spinning and wiggling its fins in order to create dozens of meticulously designed valleys and ridges that radiate outward from the middle of the pattern. If the pufferfish succeeds in creating a design that's both precise and intricate, a female will typically take notice and choose to mate with the male. Footage of this extraordinary mating behavior was captured by researchers from BBC Earth, and it was shared with thousands of viewers in a 2014 nature documentary series called Life Story. According to the episode's narrator, Sir David Attenborough, once the pufferfish starts shaping his design, he can't stop, because if he does, the ocean current could erase all of his hard work. And so, he works continuously until his creation is finally complete. The complex patterns created by the male pufferfish typically consist of several interconnected parts that ultimately make up a larger circular design. Based on reports from Live Science, pufferfish usually only measure around 5 inches long, while their sculptures in the sand can reach an astonishing 7 foot in diameter. 3. The Endurance. The Endurance shipwreck was discovered in early 2022. Over a century after it sank to the bottom of the Weddell Sea. It met its eventual demise in 1915 when it was crushed by sea ice, forcing Sir Ernest and the rest of his crew to make a hasty escape on foot and in small boats. Apparently, the vessel was lost until it was rediscovered again by a team from the Falklands Maritime Heritage Trust, FMHT. The hunt for the long-lost ship was launched by the FMHT using a South African icebreaker ship called Agulhas II. The team was also equipped with remotely operated submersibles to help them identify the sunken wreckage. Dr. John Shears, the leader of the mission and veteran polar geographer, spoke with BBC News and described the moment as jaw-dropping when their cameras showed the ship's name for the first time. He further explained that the discovery of the wreck was an incredible achievement. The Endurance was found sitting at a depth of almost 10,000 feet. The team's submersible spent more than 2 weeks scouring the bottom of a predefined search area before they finally uncovered the wreckage. Amazingly, Endurance was located on the 100th anniversary of Sir Ernest's funeral. Under the International Antarctic Treaty, the wreck site has been designated a monument and mustn't be disturbed in any way. Because of this, not a single artifact from the sunken ship has been brought to the surface. 2. Squid Mub. At a depth of over 4,500 feet below the surface, a remotely operated vehicle, or ROV, captured footage of a deep-sea squid carrying hundreds of pearl-like eggs in the waters off the California coast in July 2022. According to Michelle Starr from Science Alerts, this was only the second time in history that a team of scientists managed to capture a deep-sea squid exhibiting brooding behavior. The first time occurred back in 2005, when a genus of squid known as Barthyteuthis berrii was seen holding a sheet of nearly 400 eggs. Apparently, this type of squid can be found all over the place, and they typically feed on krill. Most of the time, a female squid will reproduce by leaving her egg cases on the floor of the ocean. Either that, or she releases the eggs in a gelatinous mass that drifts throughout open water. Because of this, it's extremely rare to capture a squid brooding over its eggs, since they generally perish soon after laying them. At the moment, only 3 squid species are known to exhibit this type of behavior, and experts aren't exactly sure why. However, they think it has something to do with keeping the eggs away from predators, which would greatly improve the hatchling's chances of survival. Based on these amazing observations, biologists now suspect that other types of deep-sea squids may also brood their eggs. 1. Ancient Greek computer. The world's oldest computer was found fully submerged in the waters surrounding the Greek island of Antikythera at the turn of the 20th century by a group of fishermen. Below the weight of the sand, water, and the sunken ship that once carried the ancient device were the astronomical machine's mechanical parts and bronze gears that had slowly rusted and warped over the years. When a group of fishermen stumbled upon the wreckage of the old ship, they discovered a plethora of treasure that was submerged along with it, including the old Greek computer that's known today as the Antikythera mechanism. 2 years after the initial discovery of the wreckage, Greek politician Spiridon Stais made a trip to the museum that housed the ancient mechanism. He had organized the underwater excavation of the ship, and out of all the incredible artifacts that were pulled from the vessel, including sculptures, pottery, and coins, a rusted lump of metal was at the center of his attention. This chunk of metal was found to be a piece of the Antikythera mechanism, although Stais didn't know it at the time. Over the last several decades, scientists have been using CT scans and X-rays to peek inside the ancient computer in order to accurately reconstruct what it may have looked like when it was first put together. Scientists believe that it was likely made sometime between 200 BC and 70 BC. They know that the clock-sized device contained a complicated collection of around 30 spinning and interlocking gears. They believe these gears control dials that track the sun, the moon, the planets of our solar system, and even eclipses. The device was originally built with a crank that stretched out from the computer's frame and spun the gears, also controlling the movement of the hands on the dials. This allowed the user to predict eclipses, as well as the passage of celestial bodies through the night sky. According to Joe Marchant, who works for the Smithsonian, nothing as sophisticated as the Antikythera mechanism was seen again for more than 1,000 years. What's even more amazing is that in 2016, an inscription on the device was revealed by scans, which appeared to be some type of explanatory label. This suggests that perhaps the machine was mass-produced, accompanied by easy-to-read instructions for users who wanted to track the movement of the planets and stars thousands of years ago. If you could be any underwater sea creature you wanted to be for a day, which one would you be? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed today's video, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye!